All right, we are live. Welcome to the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, Nevada for the first time. I am Chris Kirkwood, your host, screen name Kirk Bees, with my boy Brian Jester, co-host, head honcho at Occupy Fantasy, Court Jesters. The man just had a good overall week, I think, in DFS, if I'm not mistaken. I saw some screenshots floating around Twitter. Good job last week, but we're on here for week 14. But yeah, what went your way last week?
What's up, man? Yeah, good to be here. Had some showdown success, and yeah, it's not officially a good DFS week unless you post a screenshot on Twitter. So I think that qualified. So yeah, I'm happy to do the show with you. And you said you're out in Vegas, so I know you're excited for UFC tomorrow and all that good stuff. And I just hope the Wi-Fi in Vegas makes it for the next 30 or 45 minutes for you.
Yeah, maybe we'll be even shorter, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm in Vegas this week. So I'm going to be a little light on my research for sure. I've looked over things, but that's where I'm leaning on. This is the Brian Jester week for anybody who's been following us every week. So he is the one to blame. If you have a bad week this week, you just light him up on Twitter. If you crush this week, give him props. But anyways, first off, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. So this is presented by Yahoo. Yahoo is the place to play for DFS. I play most of my action on Yahoo DFS. I'm in Vegas right now because I won a Vegas trip from Yahoo and DFS. So thank you, Yahoo. But anyways, they got the $1 Million Baller, which is the best tournament in DFS. It is $20 to enter, 200K overlay every single week. I don't know if it's like every single week. It has been every single week this season. So I'm just assuming they're continuing that going forward. But if not, it's just been a crazy run of the most plus EV tournament to be playing in. Negative 25% management fee. They are literally putting $200,000 in the pot and not making money on this tournament every single week. So if you have just $20 of DFS entries that you're going to play one entry in this. If you can afford to max enter it for 3K, max enter this. Anything in between, play this tournament. It is the best. They also have the single game tournaments, which I've done pretty well on, which I've liked on Thursday night, Sunday night for the big game, and Monday Night Football. So a lot of new players over there. So get in. If you haven't signed up yet, use code Grinders. I think is that what
Grinders 25 is the code.
25. Thank you. And so I'm in Vegas. My brain is melted. I've been gambling all night. But that's the way we do it. So anyways, we've got week 14. We've got 11 games. It's pretty weird looking slate for me from like a total standpoint. At least we only have, first off, we've had like COVID reports and all that stuff. So it's been kind of a hectic news week. It's kind of calmed down a little bit recently, but we don't have many high point totals. We do have the one marquee game, which is a 53.5 point total. And then the next highest is 48.5 points. So the highest total is the Bills at the Bucks, or the Tampa's -3 points. Bills are coming off of their loss to the Pats, 53.5 point total. Bills are now getting, everyone's been blaming the weather, I guess, for that New England win. I bet New England pretty heavily that night. I liked that, nice. But they at least they don't have that excuse this week. They are going to Tampa where the weather will be nice. So that should at least be conducive for some fantasy points. So that should be the marquee game. Then there's the 49ers at the Bengals, which is coming in at 40.5 points, -2 for the Bengals. That game could be pretty juicy. Then there's 2 point total games. Dallas at Washington Football Team. Dallas is -6, 48 point total there. And then we've got the Raiders traveling to KC, where KC's 10-point favorites with a 48 point total. That total was up to 53 to start the week. It has come down 5 points. We were talking about it pre-show. We think it's because of Darren Waller now looking unlikely to play, and the combination of heavy winds, 15-mile-per-hour winds in that game. So maybe it's a good running matchup for Josh Jacobs, and maybe they lean on CEH in this one, and this game may not even be very competitive either. So thinking that's probably why. But yeah, and then there's just a bunch of other games, right, that have low totals. But how is the slate looking to you at first glance?
Oh man, pretty gross. We have so many 42, 43 point totals, and then some of these other games at 48.5 points that have some issues with them and some warts. I obviously am excited for the 53.5 point total game, and after that win game with Buffalo and New England, I would not be surprised if Buffalo just passes literally every single play in this game. Right? They've shown that they'll pass more against teams that are bad against the pass, or they won't run against run or teams that are good against the run. And I think everyone knows Tampa Bay's success versus running backs in the run game. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see Josh Allen with like 50 pass attempts in this game. So I think obviously that's going to be the game that we want to target.
Yep, I agree. And the Bills certainly need a win. The Bucks are rolling along here. We've got Lenny, so it's funny. I thought Lenny crushed me again in the beginning of the slate, like last slate. So I had the worst first half of last week's slate. I ended up breaking even, but like the first thing was like, I was like, oh great, I faded Jonathan Taylor and he went nuts right off the bat, and Lenny went nuts right off the bat, and I was like, oh my god, Lenny again. And I was like, well, this dude, right? And then at least he cooled, like everybody kind of ended up getting there anyway. I got saved by a ceiling game from George Kittle, which is what was, and that came off of the show. Our love throughout last week's show built, where we both realized like, wow, we both really like George Kittle. We don't even really know why, but we do. And so like I was honed in on how there, I was like, I'm playing Kittle, and he went absolutely berserk. So that was nice to bail me out. And your big showdown win, that was the Pats Bills game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean the weather was. I played that angle heavily. Played all running backs and
Dude,
defenses.
there was such an edge in that game. So when I was looking, I was like, okay. So projections didn't know how. Like they throughout the day, it was like all passing game was being projected in optimals, right? And it was like still heavily project. Like they didn't adjust projections enough for what.
Wild.
And if you watch football, if this is like where watch the games and knowing football actually helps you. In that game, I was like, wow, this showdown slate, there is a massive edge, because I could care less about Mac, right? Like
Josh Allen, excluded him. I didn't play Mac at all.
Yeah, right? I was like, I could care less about him. I just want the Patriots running backs, and I don't care. Like, like how even if you don't know which one to play, I'm playing them both, right? Like
exactly. Get 40 carries combined.
Yeah, and I was like, I hiked up the defense too, and that one. Yeah, I was having a really good slate until like the very last play, but I just think I still did pretty well. Nice. But anyways, all right. I looked over at the game, the blitz game factors, and for the most plays, like I always do, Washington, Dallas is coming in at the head of the pack there for plays. Las Vegas, Kansas City, and Buffalo, Tampa Bay right there. So those are the top three, and those they correlate perfectly with Brandon Thorne's Up and Pace article. So those are the three games that we should be targeting, and probably will be the chalkier games too. What was interesting to me was like the right there for plays was the New York Giants Chargers game right behind them. But the problem is that we don't really know what's, Keenan Allen's out. It's Glennon again this
probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So things could break your way if playing that game, but they also could go very poorly. But all right, let's start it off at quarterback, top values, and our main plays. I don't have a bunch of research done for this, but the plays that I liked at first glance here is Taysom is going to be the top value on the play overall, because it's the Jets. And like I say, every week I would roster Head Chopper against the Jets. And he's only $28. So he's kind of the top value and the main play this week, right?
Totally. That's the first guy I have listed in main plays and values, $28, right? So I mean, we know what he can do with his legs, and against the Jets, so it's a recipe for success.
Yep. And then I wrote down some gross value plays. If you really wanted to go there, would be Jimmy G at 23. I don't really want to do it, but I could see it working out for you, especially with the emergence of Kittle coming on strong. Teddy Bridgewater, 24. Again, it's because he's playing Detroit. I don't really want to do it, but it's a good matchup. His weapons are looking a little bit better, with Judy back and Fant actually having a competent run game if they don't go back. If Gordon doesn't, is Gordon going to play this week?
I think so, and especially some of his comments about the fans not liking him. I think he's ready to go out there and play again.
And they're just going to feed him probably. Anyways, those are guys. But the main plays, I kind of like the range, the higher range tonight. Starting when saying higher was Taysom at 28 leading the way, going up to Josh Allen at 41, who's going to be pretty low owned in this bounce back spot. I think. Well, he's projected pretty high for ownership. I thought because of the 41 price tag that he wouldn't get much ownership, especially after last week. But that is the marquee game, so that does make sense. But Brady looks so playable at 34. Herbert looks playable at 34. I'm gonna keep playing Russ. I know it's stupid. It's like I'm betting against Pete Carroll running the ball every single week, and I keep losing. But at least all my Russ stacks had Kittle as bringbacks last week, so nice. that worked somewhat.
That'll get you there.
That's who I wrote down. Who are you focusing on this week?
Yeah, I think Brady's got to be the main focus here, right? This is the cheapest we've got him all season, if I'm not mistaken, $34, right? Normally he's up in the high 30s, low 40s, and 28.5 point team total, right? The marquee game. I think Brady's a fantastic play, probably the best pay up option, and he's only $6 more than Taysom Hill. So I think to me, the main lineup, I'm choosing between those two guys. Herbert you like, and I like as well, and I think he's a value according to projections. The big issue there is obviously no Keenan, potentially no Mike Williams. We'll get to that in the receiver section, but whether or not he's playing the Giants and whether or not he's a value, obviously he needs his receivers to throw to. It's a lot different if he's throwing to Keenan and Mike Williams versus Jalen Guyton and like Joshua Palmer. So that definitely changes some things. So,
and it's crazy to me that the Blitz has this as the most plays, like the fourth most plays, because the Giants are 31st in DVOA versus the run, and who is worse? The one team that's worse behind them, it's the Chargers at 32nd, who just dare you to run all game. So this is two teams with good running backs in Austin Eckler and Saquon, against poor running defense. So it would just make sense that this game is just run from each angle, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So maybe I lessen my love for Herbert here, and certainly with Mike Williams back, he gets a little bit of a boost. But if Mike Williams is out, I mean that's a really cheap pairing with like a Guyton or somebody, But Eckler is going to get Eckler if he plays, which he should be, is going to get just a ton of work.
Yeah, Eckler would be the big beneficiary, and we saw that last year when Keenan missed a couple of games, and Eckler was the guy who benefited the most next to Mike Williams. So Brady, Taysom, the two main plays. Allen, I think if you can get up to him, is a great play as well. And then for tournaments, some of those higher total games we mentioned. So you mentioned Jimmy G as a value. I like both sides of that game, obviously with a higher total, him and Burrow. Mahomes, right? If the win's not too bad there, and then I like the Washington and Dallas game. So if you can envision that game scoring more points than Dak and Heineke, I think are in play.
Yep, those would be my next guys I was thinking about. I probably don't have much love for anybody cheaper like Matt Ryan this week. Yeah, like these guys are like Baker Mayfield's $20. He's like dead min price, but no, I don't have much interest there. Lamar has just crushed me. I think I'm done with it.
It's been rough lately, dude.
Yeah, $38, but he should be in play too. And obviously Mahomes, but now with like some win concerns. But I mean, I say obviously Mahomes, but he's only had.
Is it obvious anymore, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
He's had one good week in the last 6 weeks. Ironically, it was this matchup against the Raiders, so. Could see it happening again. I believe in this. I may pound them to pound some futures before I leave here because I think they'll figure it out by the.
Go ahead and pound those futures and send me the tickets. I'll cash them for you when I'm out there for the Super Bowl. So
there. Maybe I'll come for the Super Bowl too.
Hey, coming out.
Yeah. All right. Let's move it on over to wide receiver who we're pairing with these quarterbacks. Top values. Again, this is just because they're cheap plays. I wrote down Jarvis Landry at 15. I wrote down Hunter Renfrow at 18. I wrote down Jalen Guyton at 10, and he would get a huge boost if Mike Williams is out, I think. Landry is against Baltimore. Baltimore, this is a team that he had 10 targets. He did have 111 yards. Didn't find the pay dirt in there last time they played, but I could see him doing, having a decent game for $15. He is the clear guy, at least. Hunter Renfrow is obviously the clear guy, especially if Waller's not playing at 18. Those are the cheap guys I got. I didn't really have much interest in anyone else.
Yeah, I think those are the clear guys, right? So like Guyton, Landry, Russell Gage too is $14, and he's shown a little bit more of a target share here in the last few weeks. I imagine Carolina focuses on Kyle Pitts once again, so Gage at $14 is a good value. And then if we get Julio Jones back, he's $16. He's practiced all week, and I guess they're expecting to activate him from injured reserve, so we thrust him into a wide receiver 1 role without AJ Brown against Jacksonville. I think Julio, his popularity will creep up as Sunday's games approach.
I've already lost so much money on Julio Jones throughout my DFS betting career that
well, just add it to the ledger this week.
Yeah, it's such a small piece. Like, it just doesn't really matter. So I might as well play him this week. Chris Godwin, I had down for my main plays, $22. Like, why so cheap?
It makes no sense.
Especially without Tre'Davious White. This Bills defense is vulnerable now, much more vulnerable than they were. They're a good defense for sure, right? But Tre'Davious White was a huge piece of that. And Stephon Diggs, $29. I mean, we're betting on, a big bounce back here in the good weather against a team that you cannot run on, and all you can do is pass. And, if the Bills are smart, they, like you said, they should just, how many passing attempts are we going to get out of Josh Allen this week? Like, maybe complete ceiling game for him, so love that. Mike Williams, if he's the main guy without Keenan, $21. We did talk about some concerns about that game, but those are kind of play. There's some other decent plays that I think you'll hit on, but who are you looking at?
I mean, that's pretty much what I have, right? So Mike Williams at $21. If Keenan's definitely going to be out. If Mike Williams can continue to test negative throughout the weekend, he'll be cleared to play. And at $21, just an amazing play with Justin Herbert. Godwin, like you said, too cheap. Renfrow, a main lineup consideration. Stephon Diggs, like you said, and then Tyreek. And I also wrote down DJ Moore. I don't think I could play him in my main lineup, but the target volume is there. Just the quarterback efficiency is the big question. I think the player pool for your main lineup is pretty small and pretty tight for receiver this week. But where it gets interesting, obviously, is the tournament options, and then you compare all these guys' main weapons with the quarterbacks we talked about earlier, because all these guys are going to go way under owned compared to the guys we just talked about.
I'm also kind of interested at Tyler Lockett at $22 too against
of course
Houston. And we're already gonna know what my favorite stack, at least where I'm gonna end up on my favorite lower owned stack.
Easy.
Just gave it away. All right. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty small pool today. I did put all my entries in so I can edit them out here. I'm only playing the baller. I was like, really hard for me to I was like, should I enter all my main lineup action and just come out here and but then I was like, I'm gonna be up all night Saturday. I'm gonna be going to the UFC fights.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna be drinking probably, and then I'm probably gonna end up gambling all night, and then I'm gonna try to build lineups. I'm like, this is not smart. I'm gonna be missing out on all my process usually. So, but I was like, I am gonna play this baller. So I got all my baller entries, so I'm gonna be playing.
I was going to say, you're uploading your CSV at 12:59 every week, anyways. I can't even imagine what you're going to be doing in Vegas. So
no doubt, I'm going to end up with 150 of Russ Russ to Lockett. It's going to be the same lineup: Russ to Lockett, Kittle coming, or whoever the hell they're. The
Texans are going to bring it back with Brandon Cooks. There you go.
It's going to be Brandon Cooks. I can see it now. All right. Running backs, we got some strong plays this week in the lower range, right? Like that usually that sweet spot, like that 17 to 24 range. Again, we usually do have some plays every week. Last week we had tons of them as well. My top value, I had Josh Jacobs at $17. Drake is out, right?
Yep, Drake is officially done.
Dunzo. And KC 26 DVOA versus the run. It just makes a lot of sense. Plus the wind in that game. So, and I'm Josh, Jacobs has the talent. It's just been the usage that's always been the problem with him. So huge end zone threat. He's going to be chalky, but I like him. Saquon Barkley at 19, Like we said, Chargers 32nd DVOA versus the run seems like a home run. I wrote down Zeke for 20, and he's going to be massive chalk if Tony Pollard is out. I don't know. I really don't want to play. I just think Zeke is dust, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts. But that's who I had for the values, and then for the main preferred plays, I had Eckler. I want to get up to if I can because I just see a monster workload. Lenny, okay, I give in. I throw in the towel. I'll play him. Javonte, I want to play, but now with Gordon coming back, that puts a damper on things. But the two plays that I think that will really come on here at the later in the week, I think Clyde at 20 is going to be interesting with this wind potentially. And then Jeff Wilson at 14 seems like a home run as the main San Francisco back. That's what
so I agree with all those plays. Josh Jacobs, way too cheap. Should be one of the first guys you put in your lineup. And Kenyon Drake's out, but then Jalen Richard was the other guy that was kind of has been impacting his passing game role throughout the last couple of seasons. He's likely going to be out again, still on the COVID list. So now we just have Jacobs by himself, and he's set career highs in target shares and routes run the last couple of weeks. So yeah, fire up Josh Jacobs. Zeke, I think you have to play him, right? $20, one of the highest totals on the week. 4-point favorites. They play fast. Won't concede any touches to anybody else. So I think you got to play Zeke at 20. I'm interested in CH as well. If that game does turn into a run heavier game as a 10-point favorite, Eckler, you have to play with no Keenan Allen. Alvin Kamara with no Mark Ingram against the Jets, and I'll take your line from you. We'll play head chopper against the Jets, right? So yes. We'll play Alvin Kamara certainly without Mark Ingram. Fournette's the other guy, obviously in a great spot, and then Jeff Wilson at 14, like you said. So Eli Mitchell probably going to be out. JaMychal Hasty is there, going to take some passing game work. It's not as much of a slam dunk spot as the first Jeff Wilson game we got, which he failed. I mean, that's not important, but his knee could flare up a little bit. That's been an issue, limited in practice, and then Hasty will take passing game work. So not as great of a spot as I'd want it to be, but still.
Sorry if I said home run. There's risk there. It's just like I want the San Francisco back, and if he's going to be the San Francisco back, like I just believe in Shanahan and his ability to create some good plays. But it could certainly fail. I mean, he's done absolutely nothing on the season. He did have 19 attempts for 50 yards against the Jags, didn't score. He's going to be touchdown. But it's going to be touchdown dependent. But if he just gets, in there one time, then at $14 should be.
I'll be playing him for sure. I like the spot. I just think there's a couple warts to it, and not as slammed up a spot as the first time he got the start. But I think it's very clear. Eckler and Kamara at the top, and some of those mid-range guys, and then Jeff Wilson at the bottom. That seems pretty simple.
Yep. Any other and throw in, mix in a little Cordero Patterson maybe, or some other guys like
Ty Johnson if you want a super cheap guy. No Tevin Coleman, no Michael Carter. He's $10.
$10. Yep. And maybe Antonio Gibson in that game has a little bit of leverage on the other side off of Zeke if you're not playing Zeke. Zeke, the thing with Zeke is like he was going to get a touchdown anyway. They're going to give him a touchdown when he, come in at the 1 yard line, even if Pollard was playing. So I agree. I think you kind of have to play him. I just know he's washed, and he just makes that offense so much worse when he's out there. You can just see it. It's like
it's very clear.
I don't understand how other people can't see it. All right, let's move it on over to tight end here this week. Top value plays. He projects as a top value play. So that's what we'll say. The projected top value plays. Kyle Pitts, $16. The guy has done nothing except for 1 week in a Jacksonville. Was it?
That was the London game, right?
It was the London game. I was thinking it was Jacksonville, but it was the Jets.
Yep.
Then he had one strong game against Miami. He has had a bunch of duds since then. The usage was pretty good last week for 7 targets, but only got 48 yards, only got, no touchdowns. We have not seen any touchdowns in this guy. This guy has not gotten any red zone targets much on the season. So it's been a complete disappointment, but price is down again. They knocked another buck off him. Could be the perfect storm where the price comes down and he finally goes off. And so it makes for at least an interesting play. I think Jared Cook is interesting if Mike Williams doesn't suit up. Interesting anyway with no Keenan, but interesting, I'll say. As Noah Fant is someone I'll always consider playing in a range $15 or below, and he is $15. The main preferred play is the guy that we nailed last week in George Kittle at $23. And then I also wrote down the two interesting plays from there. Gronk, because he's Brady's go-to guys, is the go-to game. Tough matchup. They have been absolutely really strong against defending the tight end, the Bills, but I still think Gronk can get it done. And on the other side, Dawson Knox at 19, where Tampa's 24th in DVP versus tight ends. Knox had a couple of drops in the New England game, but it was cold weather, and now gets nice juicy weather where he's had a really strong season. So I can get behind that. It feels a little gross paying that $19 when I've been paying like $10 to $12 for this guy for years, or at least all last season, and some of this season he was cheaper in the earlier parts, but has earned it. So that's what I got. What do you got?
So I think Austin Hooper is one of the better values as well. David Njoku on the COVID list, Harrison Bryant ruled out. Hooper is the only active tight end on the roster now, and I think Baltimore is one of the worst teams when it comes to allowing production to the opposing tight end position. And Hooper is really, really cheap, so I think he'll end up being popular if people don't pay up at the position. Foster Moreau, he burned people last week, but I'm willing to go back to him at $13 in a high total game if Waller misses once again. I think if you're looking for other cheaper options, maybe Uzama, James O'Shaughnessy maybe, but to me I think it's a pay up week, right? Gronk, Kittle, Andrews, Kelsey. I'm interested in all four of those guys, and to me I think Kittle, if Debo's out again, we're gonna have to monitor Friday's reports to see if Debo is expected to come back. That will put a little bit of a cap on Kittle's ceiling if Debo does return, but 4 big plays at the top I think all are interesting.
Yeah, I should have mentioned Ayuk too for wide receivers.
I
think that he like, it's like they finally went to him in the fourth quarter, and he in that game when he was just completely busting.
Right.
But and he looked great. I don't get it. And what about a Foster Moreau bounce back?
I'm on it, man. I'm on board. I think everyone's going to be, especially with some of these other guys on the slate, I don't think anyone's going to be interested in playing Moreau. And again, he's only $13, and we've seen the targets before. Just didn't happen last week. I'm definitely ready to go back to the well.
Yep. All right. Any last? Ricky Seals-Jones potentially.
No Logan Thomas, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And that's about it. But all right, let's close it out with our top stacks. I'm going to lean on you. I'm going to only just give one stack, and it's going to be that Russ to Lockett. I just think it's so clear that it's Lockett is the Russ favorite now. I don't know what's going on with DK. I'm kind of buying into the Adam Levitan narrative of like he no church DK Metcalf or no Bible study, but I mean, it's just clear he just hones in on Lockett, and so I'm just gonna ride that until they finally both go berserk together. Get the brings back with Cooks. They're all reasonably priced. You can do whatever you want with your lineup from there. So that's gonna be my lineup this week. But you have to give 2 since you're picking up the slack for me since I'm in Vegas.
Very fair. I think the easy stack for me, the preferred stack is Brady to his pass catchers, or paying up to Allen. I actually think paying up to Allen's probably the better move in tournaments, right? Maybe you get a discount on ownership, legit 50 to 60 pass attempt ceiling. So yeah, I think Allen's the best stack with Diggs or any of the other tertiary players on the Bills. For the grosser stack, I'll go with Jimmy G and the 49ers, right? Kittle, Ayuk, very clear passing game weapons if Debo's out. If Debo's in, you pair him up with Debo, and a little bit of uncertainty in the backfield there, pivot away from there, go to the passing game attack. And I think that's probably my favorite grosser stack. And I don't know if we have to talk about much more else. I know those Baccarat tables are calling your name, Chris, so we can get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it. Everybody wish me luck out here in Vegas. I had a profitable first night, but that's only the beginning. We know how quickly things can go down, but I'm pumped for the fights. I'm going to be betting heavily on your pre-show. You gave me a pick, Jillian Robertson, inside the distance. So I'm going to go down to the sports book and place a heavy bet on there. And I recommend that anybody who's listening to the show do the same. And if we lose, we don't really lose because we can just blame Jester. Okay.
Add me on Twitter. Just send me the hate mail on Twitter.
Yes. Thank you for picking up the slack this week. Let's crush. and we'll be back again next week for week 15. So this has been the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast. We'll catch you next week.